Okay, first things first, I'll start with the most easiest of the processes here. So if you see this S1000RR, we just showed you the chain loops that we use. I've done that part. The second part is just to open these fairings and then drain the oil first. After draining the oil, the next thing is that I have a new Gillies oil pan bolt for the track. Then the filters that you guys use. So I mean, we have high flow and K&N in stock. If you guys need any, let us know. HF160 and the KN160 both do the same functionality. This time I'll just go with the high flow 160. Nothing in particular, to be honest. It was just like I was looking stuff up, and we have been using K&N on this bike for a long time. So I was like, I'll just try and see what happens if I put the high flow in. So the only tool that you need is like a small ratchet. It's a very handy, very nifty toolbox that I have. I need a T25 Torx bit, and that's about it. So I'll only open the cover over here, the lower fairing. We'll not touch the upper fairing in any ways. Again, because I was telling you this is my track bike too, so that's why I only trust the 300V Mo tool. On the other bikes, the 70-100 Mo tool, any SAE rating, the 540 or 1060, 1050, anything that the bike manufacturer specs out is perfect. But if you want to do occasional track days, my personal suggestion is to use a 300V, or if you go Liqui Moly or Maxima, use the street race oil. So we have the lower left fairing off. Okay, so we have the lower left fairing off. Just for a heads up, I'll just clean this a little bit, and I've like, you can see the drain plug right over here, like the place where I'm touching right now. So I just need to open this drain plug now, drain all the oil out, and this is the location where you get the oil filter off from. I think you can see it on my hand. We'll do a closer deep dive analysis once we are replacing the oil filter. That's the two things that we'll be changing. Like, the chain lube is done, next is the oil, and after that I'll inspect all the fluids on the bike. Before I go any further, I'll just start with one important step here for the engine oil change. So if you see, we have two different engine flush options here. One is the Liqui Moly and the other is the Mo tool engine clean. Only for this time I'll use the Liqui Moly because we have it open. I use it for like changing the engine oil on my car. So we'll put this engine flush first in the bike. We'll let the engine run for like 10 minutes.
that we ran this engine for about 10 minutes, the engine oil might be hot enough to drain immediately. So we let the bike sit for a few minutes, and when I say few minutes, will be like at least 10 to 15 minutes. So in that time we have the engine oil cool down a little bit, and then we can use a drain pan to collect all the unwanted oil. After that, I think, as I showed you guys before, we'll put a Geely's engine oil plug over here. We'll replace this. I'm thinking of replacing these rear sets. I do love how the BMW OEM or factory turns the foot pegs up. It actually helps me a lot. So we are still deciding whether to put Light Tech or Geely's. Geely's we have in stock, Light Tech we have in stock. We also have the Bonamicis in stock, but undecided at the moment. And then we did a video like a few months ago where we were thinking of replacing the front windshield here. So we did that for the HP4. We installed the pooch, and I'm thinking to the same with the S1000, like get a different kind of pooch, like a carbon fiber or something, and install that. So we'll do that like in after the engine oil or after all the fluids are replaced on the bike. As the engine's cooling down, that I was telling you guys, we'll just go ahead and try to take this side panel off. You just need like an H8 connector to open this bolt off. It's a standard connector. Since this fairing slider is off now, I will just need a pick set to disconnect this turn signal. So okay, took me a couple of seconds to take this connector off. I think now that it's out, like we are good. Everything on the panel also looks fine. So I'll just put it on the side and continue working. So the first activity again is going to be draining the engine oil because it will be still kind of warm, but that's okay. That's not a lot of concern that I have right now. Find the drain plug or open the drain pan bolt, and I think we'll call it good. Try to use the work gloves that I use. Now that the oil has drained down, and if you see, like the color of the oil is still green, like I used a 300V before, which was with a dark green tint instead of the usual 7100 purple tint. It feels like the oil has not broken down with the use over a year. Like my maximum use case for this motorcycle is around 3,500 miles in a year, and this synthetic oil can last you more than 6,000 miles. Again, I suggest everyone to use or change the engine oil every year, on the motorcycles at least. So changing the oil at least once, like I have had friends who change it twice a year, but like at least change it every year and change the oil filter. The coolant has to be changed, the rear brake fluid has to be pumped and changed. We have to change the brake pads. Once we change the brake pads, we'll pump this brake fluid out, put fresh fluid in, change the oil filler cap, change the Pooch Z Racing that I was telling you guys before, and then wrap it back up.
Alright, so I was able to open it.
Let's open the new part. I mean, I don't want the K&N this time, because either we use the BMW factory filter, as you can see, or I've used K&N. I just want to try the high flow this time. It's the exact same size, there's no difference. It feels like high flow, or somebody is like we all know, like somebody manufactures these oil filters for BMW. So before that, I'll just use a cleaner and degrease the area around so that we can put everything back up. Okay, so I'll just use the brake cleaner to wipe everything around, to degrease everything, just to see if we don't like we are degreasing the area around the engine oil under the sump is a good choice or a good idea, guys. It'll take you a long way. Let me grab more shop towels. Alright, so I think it's wiped pretty good now. So I'll go ahead, pop the new filter in. See if the tool fits. I don't think so. So I have another tool, a filter tightening wrench. Let's see if this one works. I'll give it a shot just to see if I can apply the accurate torque measurements on this. So I know it's going to be 11 Newton meters. Alright, let's see guys if this works. I hope so, I'm not sure. I just got it from a friend, so I think no, I have not enough clearance around. Let's see if I can make up something. Again, it might be shoddy, or because not too many, the header is right there, the header pipe, so I cannot even use an extension. Go inside. Alright, so this part is done. I'll go back, pick the drain bolt, the drain plug, you can call it, wipe this too. change the o-ring, and I think we'll tighten this back up. So I've wiped everything using the brake cleaner. Okay, if you see, there's no residue on the bolt now. So that part's pretty neat. See some fluid on the thing. Alright, so this part is done. I'll just move the fluid out of the way. So the BMW factory spec says to tighten this oil drain plug or the plug bolt with 28 Newton meters of torque. The one that I have goes to 22.6. So I'll basically use a different torque wrench which can go to 28 Newton meters. Or let me grab another one. Guys, what I'm getting to is now just tightening this drain plug bolt, which the BMW factory says it needs a torque of 28 Newton meters. So I have my torque wrench and it's set to 28 Newton meters, if you see the number right there. And I just need the right tool now to be attached to this, which is we'll take the socket wrench and then just tighten this. So I'm done over on this side. I'm done with the oil filter now. Moving on to the other side. Now what do I need on this side? It's just Liqui-Moly Ceratec and the Motul 300V 5W40 oil. If you can see, guys, on this side first I'll add the Motul 300V oil, engine oil. Then I'll add maybe like about 50 milliliters of the Liqui-Moly Ceratec, and I think we'll also do a valve system and the fuel injector clean as well, but that is going to be after the coolant is added and coolant is flushed. And I'll just add the Liqui-Moly or the Motul valve clean or the fuel injector cleaner in the fuel and let it run for a day. I think that should be more than enough. We'll just go ahead, change the oil. Now this 300V, unlike the 70-100, comes with a green dye. The engine takes almost 4 quarts of oil. You'll still have some residual in this. So I think this one comes with so 4 liters, right? And this engine will take around 3.8. So if you'll check the marker down here, I think. So I'll open up this can of Ceratec now, guys. So guys, now that I've added the entire engine oil, you can see there's almost about 1 to half a pint left, which is absolutely what is needed for this engine. I think that's more than sufficient. And if you go on this side just to check the gauge out, you can see like we are almost filling up the oil inside this gauge. Okay, so once this step is done, for me, I'll just do an extra step. Once this step is done, for me, I'll just go ahead with an extra step, which is that we unboxed the Liqui Moly Ceratec just to reduce the friction inside the engine. So I'll open this can up, as you guys can see, and we'll just add about 50 to 100 milliliters of Ceratec inside the engine, and I think that is good enough. So we are done with this part. I'll close this up, reuse this same Ceratec for maybe changing the oil on the MV Agusta or the HP4. Okay, the last and most important piece here now is to put this Gillies plug here. So the Gillies plug gets to us with a key, a Gillies key, the plug, and the plug has 4 washers. Now because my bike is a red, blue and a white, I'll go with a blue or a red first and then see which one suits better, but I think the blue might be good enough for me, so I'll just use the blue one. Okay, so the last step is just to use this Gillies engine oil plug, tighten it up manually first, and then we can use this key provided with this to tighten it. I think hand tighten is more than enough. Now this also adds value to the bike, and one thing I'll tell you is, so if you go to any racetrack, they have strict regulations when you drive the intermediate or the advanced rider group, that you cannot have an engine oil plug that has a tab and that can be opened manually. So this one passes the regulations, and obviously the first point was to add value to the bike. So now I think we are done with this first step of changing the engine oil on the bike. I'll start the bike up, let it run for a few minutes, and we'll then start looking at replacing the other fluids and the brake pads on the bike. This was amazing, guys. We are done with the first part of changing the engine oil. The Gillies is set, Ceratec is inside. Once I do all the overhaul, then we are going to add the valve cleaner and the fuel injector cleaner in the fuel, and let the fluid or the chemical do its magic inside. Rest, I think last part will be to add the Pooch windscreen. The bike would be ready so that I can ride this season either on the track or even on the streets. Thank you for watching, guys.